Hello and welcome to Occupied Thoughts, a podcast brought to you by the Foundation for Middle East Peace. I'm Peter Beinart, a fellow at the Foundation. Today is January 26th, 2023, and I'm here with Einat Weizman, an actor, director, playwright, and political activist based in Tel Aviv, and Issa Amro, a political activist who was born, raised, and lives in the West Bank city of Hebron, and is the founder of the activist group Youth Against Settlements. Issa and Einat are in New York for a reading of their play, How to Make a Revolution, which we're going to talk about today. Issa, Einat, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Einat, I wanted to start with you. Tell me a little bit about how this play came to be.
This play is actually a result of a year-long conversation between Issa and me, between an activist and a theater maker. And I'm also an activist, but Issa is the frontier of apartheid. I wanted to do a play, my thought was to do a play about the system of the military courts. But along the way, the play got his turns and some different directions, but it's still mainly about the military courts.
And Issa, you know, theater is not your main, is not what you spend most of your time doing. You're a political activist. What led you to decide that you wanted to help make this play?
I believe in non-violence resistance, and I believe that we should all work to make the occupation costly, using direct actions, using protest rallies, awareness, human rights reports. When Einat came and talked to me about the theater, I said, okay, yes, because I see that art and theater is one of the methods to educate the audience and to inform about what's going on the ground. And it was used many times in the past to increase awareness about certain causes, about certain passion in the world. And I'm very happy that we did the play, and I see a lot of audience who are not, you know, in our activist circle, you know, who are, you know, coming and watching, and, you know, they know more about the occupation. So theater is really important, and I hope this play will be shown more and more all over the world, because it illustrates, you know, the occupation, the apartheid, the segregation, the corruption in the Palestinian Authority, and even, you know, the fragmentation of the civil society in Palestine and outside Palestine.
And Einat, talk a little bit about some of the issues that you faced as a Jewish Israeli, making a play about the military court system and about Issa's condition. Were there challenges that you faced as an Israeli trying to kind of depict the plight, the reality that Palestinians face under Israeli control?
Yes, in fact, I faced many difficulties. Only to work with Issa, to speak with Issa, to sit together with Issa, we both have to cross so many barriers, bureaucratical and political barriers, in order to work together. And then we had to be examined by so many factors, like other activists that I respect a lot, that were checking if our working together is normalization. And even our supporters, even our only angels, the one who fund the first version of the play, were censoring us. So every step was a challenge.
Do you want to just explain what you mean by that? Censoring us, that they were censoring us?
There was something we could not say, which is the word boycott.
This was the German funder of the play.
Yes, we had a German organization that supported us, and they just wanted us to take one line out of the play because it might be considered as anti-Semitism. So yes, every step was difficult, and I was amazed how, because being next to Issa, I realized how impossible his work is, because he's like from all over. He has attacks on him. It's not only Israel or the Palestinian Authority. It's so many other factors, activists, organizations. Everyone is checking him. Everyone has critique on him. So it's almost impossible for him to make a change, to resist. And this is why I respect him so much for not giving up.
Issa, what were some of the challenges that you faced in trying to depict in a play your lived reality? And also, I'm curious what it was like for you to think about how to portray the Israeli officials in this scene, in this play, who are some of your tormentors, but who you had to think about how to cast and how to depict them in their roles.
The main issue is that the play is not about Issa Amro.
Mm-hmm.
The play is about any Palestinian living under the Israeli military occupation and apartheid. It tells the story of many other people who are trying to make a change. So it's about, I'm a case study, and me and Einat, we try to show this is the reality in the ground through my story, but there are many, many other stories. Their life is more difficult, and they faced a lot of challenges and confrontation. About the play, the main obstacle is the occupation and the military system. Under the military system, I'm not allowed to practice any kind of nonviolence resistance. So it's illegal what I'm doing. In a way or another, they can consider it incitement and they can put me in jail. And maybe with the current Israeli fascist government, they may outlaw me or outlaw the play, and as they are trying to stop funding for other films and try to censor us. And I face a lot of threats from the Israeli officials to stop talking. They don't want me to lead tours. They don't want me to talk to international media. They don't want me to talk to international lawmakers. They want Israeli officials to be the only spokesperson and the only source of information. So they don't want any other voice to reach the globe, to reach especially the American audience and the European audience. So it's a big deal to go over that. But I believe in that there is no change without paying a price. And I should be ready to sacrifice time, some freedom, maybe physical attacks, threats, intimidation, life intimidation, arrest, detention. I was arrested many times, detained, and lately I was arrested, ill-treated. They destroyed my house furniture. They confiscated my smartphone. So it's occupation. I will not expect from the occupation officials to really treat me well. If you challenge them, confront them, expose them, even if it's non-violence resistance, for them I am the enemy. In the contrary, they hate me more because they don't want me to show their reality and their real face. It's really not easy to be in this play, but I took it as a challenge. When I went to the military court, my choice was to go high profile, because the majority of Palestinians, they give up at the military court. They can't stand it, go in and out, and because they know at the end it's kangaroo court. It's not a fair trial. It's not about evidence, because we in the military system, we go to the judge guilty. So I had to prove that I am not guilty. So you have to show evidence that you are not guilty, not as the civilian court that the police has to bring evidence to make you guilty. But no, me personally, I was arrested, indicted with 18 military charges, and the 18 military charges, I was guilty on them. I was really doing well. I was documenting my life by video cameras, by witnesses, by which made it harder for them. And they didn't expect a Palestinian will challenge and confront them. I think they will rewrite some laws there because of our case and my indictment and how it exposed their military system. And the judge was openly saying, I'm not allowed to protest peacefully. You know, it's illegal in the military system. And I was convicted for 3 times in participating in Palestinian non-violence, protests. It was not about at all any kind of violence. It's about that the military system sole purpose is to kill the spirit of the Palestinian, to ask for freedom, to ask for equality, or at least to expose the apartheid and the segregation and the separation we are living under.
Einat, it strikes me that when one looks at movements for freedom in different places, generally they do involve some cooperation between some members of the group that is doing the oppressing with people who are doing the oppressed. If I think of South Africa or the civil rights movement in the United States, but that those interactions are often quite challenging. Relations between white and Black Americans in the civil rights movement were very difficult. And at a certain point, as you may know, in American history, some important civil rights organizations actually decided they wanted to essentially get rid of the white participants in those movements because they felt that they had taken too much power because of their own privilege. And so I'm curious for you, you are now trying to do a version of this work, working across this massive disparity in privilege and power that you have as an Israeli Jew and that Issa has as a Palestinian living under occupation. And I'm wondering what that was like for you, trying to tell the story and further the cause of Palestinian freedom, but knowing that Issa and other Palestinians can't do it themselves that easily because they don't have the same rights that you do.
Yes, my theater in general, what I do in the theater is to use my privileges as a Israeli Jew, white, in order to bring the Palestinian narrative to the Israeli audience or outside of Israel. So this is what I do. And of course, I never sit in my apartment in Tel Aviv and write about someone. I always write with someone. And the theater I'm doing is it's not only theater that deals with political issues. The theater itself is political. The form is political, because of course the play is very important to me. But what is more important is the alliances it creates that stay far more than the actual play. So every time I work on a play, it's about creating communities or creating friendships, and these are for me the real sites of resistance.
Issa, you told me that that when the play was shown in Jaffa, that you snuck in across the Green Line because for Palestinians in the West Bank, it's very difficult to enter into Israel proper, and actually went to see the show. And I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about what that experience was like, and then what it was like to watch the play being shown. I mean, Jaffa is a mixed city, but as I gather, you told me most of the audience were Jewish Israelis, and I'm curious what that whole experience was like for you.
I wanted even, to sit with Einat in Tel Aviv and Yafo and write the play together there. But as a Palestinian human rights defender, I'm blacklisted, blackmailed, so I don't get permits to enter to Israel or even to East Jerusalem. So, they punish you, they make it costly for you, even if you speak out peacefully against the occupation. So the majority of the Palestinian activists, filmmakers, artists who are critical of the occupation, they don't get permit. And Israel made a wall, to isolate West Bank from Israel and allow whoever they want to come in to work or to communicate or to have, to give certain privilege to certain Palestinian elite, VIP, very important person card, BMC businessman cards, and this kind of, division between the Palestinian society. And I'm one of the people who they see me a threat. And I decided to prove two things: that I can reach Jaffa and I can reach, Israel without a permit and bypassing the 99 checkpoints in West Bank, to prove that the wall was not for security. And I went with the Palestinian workers, and because thousands and thousands of Palestinian workers, they sneak in every day to work in Israel, and the security, is not what they talk or describe. The apartheid wall was to annex Palestinian land, to control the water aquifers, to confiscate more land and make the life of the Palestinians harder, to make division between Palestinians and Israelis, as me and as Einat. This is what they want. It's a kind of control of the occupation. So I went. It took me from Hebron to Jaffa 6 hours from the mountains in the cars, and it was not easy trip, but I made it, and I was very happy to reach Jaffa and to speak to the audience and surprise them that I reached the theater. I was never been in theater, to be very honest. And we tried, Peter, to make a cinema in Hebron and to try to do these things, and the occupation prevented us. So it was for me a kind of, I want to go there, I want to make a point. And I went and I addressed the audience, and it was really a good play. And I wanted to see the play and the reaction of the audience of the play. And I hope that all the people who are watching and listening to us help us to promote the play here in the US, because I think it's one of the best methods of exposing the Israeli occupation and apartheid. And the play, I liked it very much, but I don't want to keep seeing myself tortured, or it's not easy to see it, to listen to it, but it was a great experience. And we ate fish in Jaffa, but I was really not. It was not an easy experience in Jaffa because I was illegally there.
And so you've shown the play in Israel, you've shown it in New York. I think you've shown it in Europe as well, right? In London.
Yes, in a digital version, not on stages.
So I'm curious if you noticed any differences in the way the audiences reacted in those different places.
In Jaffa, we got the theater got threats. Mm-hmm. And there was a lawyer who wrote letters to the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Culture, that our play is violate the Nakba law. And do
you want to briefly just say what the Nakba law is?
Yes, the Nakba law state that institution in Israel cannot commemorate the Palestinian catastrophe or the Independence Day of Israel as the catastrophe of the Palestinian people. Also, if in institutions we violate, we harm the state symbols, or any calls for terror acts against Israel. So, so the theater got these letters and threats, but the director of the theater was very brave, and also Issa involved a lawyer because the letters stated that he is a terrorist. Or Issa, you know better than me what was that you involved a lawyer with.
You can go on, and it's a.
Okay.
I'm just curious about the response in the.
Okay, so this was actually the first response in Jaffa. It was before the performance was staged. The theater got threats, but then the audience came to the theater is, of course, audience that is looking for change through art.
Yes.
That the one who oppose it will not come to watch it.
Yes. Yes.
So these are people who wanted to know more, to learn more. So it received very enthusiastically by these people. And here in New York, I felt that it was so mixed, so I couldn't tell, but I felt that they knew so little, and the information that is available about what is happening in Palestine is so limited that it's important to show it. And sometimes it's even stronger for Jewish American leftists to see also a Jewish Israeli on stage saying these things. So it has a significant.
Yes, I think that's true. Issa, in addition to the enormous difficulties that you face on a daily basis from the Israeli government, and also the pressures that made it difficult to create this play, as Einat mentioned, there were also challenges from some Palestinian activists, I gather, who thought this might be an act of normalization. And so maybe you could just explain a little bit what normalization means, what that is, and how you think about that question in terms of your decision to work with an Israeli Jewish playwright and then have the play shown in an Israeli theater.
Yes, we have some Palestinian activists who think any kind of relation between Palestinian activists and Israeli activists as normalization, which means, it's making Israel look better or look good. I disagree completely with this kind of definition and framing. I see that we Palestinians and Israelis should work together to expose the Israeli occupation and apartheid, with the main goal to end the Israeli occupation and apartheid and have freedom, justice, and equality. But those Israelis who want to work with us should, understand that we have certain principles who they should address and recognize us as equal human beings who deserve full equal rights as them exactly. So I understand the Palestinians who are oppressed and who think that it's a power dynamic. But me personally, I see me and Einat are freedom fighters, and we do our best to expose the occupation, educate about the occupation and apartheid, and that change will come from me and Einat, from you, and from many other people who are working inside Israel, inside Palestine, and all over the world to make the change. We should be all together, united in a movement, and respect the diversity, respect the different opinion on everything. As I call them the anti-apartheid movement and anti-apartheid campaign, but who is with opinion of normalization. They should understand this kind of actions make a huge difference and have a huge influence on many people in Israel and all over the world.
So Einat, what is the next step for this play, and how can people who want to see it go see it?
I really hope that we will succeed in promoting it here, and we are now looking for theaters and art spaces that can stage it, and I hope to bring the full production, not only reading like we did 2 days ago.
I see. So if any of you are listening to this and you are in the theater and you have the capacity to help make that possible, you please try to do so. You can, if you reach out to the Foundation for Middle East Peace, we can certainly put you in touch with Einat and Issa. Issa and Einat, thank you so much for joining me today, and for our audience, thanks for listening or watching. Again, the name of the play, which I've seen and is very powerful, is called How to Make a Revolution. Finally, as always, I want to remind you to subscribe to the Occupied Thoughts podcast. You can do so on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Spotify. That way you won't miss any of the great content we're posting every week. And you can also find the podcast and a video of the podcast on our website, fmep.org. And with that, we will end. I'm Peter Beinart signing off until the next episode of Occupied Thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.